So you're looking for a 600cc super sport with all the power at the top, amazing in the turns and hitting apexes while riding your twisty road. Only problem is, you already know you're the type of person whose 600cc motorcycle is only going to see their twisty road and not ever going to get taken to the track. Also, 600cc motorcycles had a lot more appeal before you experienced your first amount of back pain. So, what is the bike for you? Enter the Honda CBR 600F. Visually, almost looking like a double R, but a lot more chill. And with that, welcome back to the Free Miles MC. Even though this motorcycle is supposed to give you a more streetable 600cc experience, it still uses the same engine as in the Honda CBR 600RR. With its 599cc, it is just detuned to 102 horsepower at 12,000 RPM and 64 Newton meters at 10,500 RPM. This bike is out of the year 2011, and when it first came out, it had a price of $8,900, and that's pretty astonishing because this bike comes with quite a lot of nice goodies, like fully adjustable suspension in the front and in the rear, and a combined braking ABS system, which is pretty crazy stuff for the price point for today's standard. And on top of that, the frame of this motorcycle is out of aluminum. The frame of the later 650 CBR F was out of steel, so this bike is a lot lighter with 193 kilos wet weight, which is pretty crazy. And there are a few more questions that need to be answered around this bike. For example, is this motorcycle even a Japanese bike? Also, the bike has a pretty approachable seat height from 805 millimeters, so let's see how I can sit on the motorcycle. For reference, I'm 6'5", so I'm pretty tall. But so far the bike feels comfortable from its knee angle and also from how my legs are on the tank. I don't have any space issues whatsoever. So let's go. And if you want to support the channel and keep these videos going, definitely check out the merch.
Then you walk into the room. That's exactly what I want, yeah. So I'll be here ready for you. Baby, why'd you have to go so soon? I'm just laying under the sun with you. It's been over 2 fucking months. Why you die? I just can't think of.
We are now out here on the Honda CBR 600F, a bit on a late evening run, because here in autumn and winter it gets dark very quickly. And I earlier drove out of Düsseldorf, and I already have to say it was a very comfortable experience. The seating position of the bike is very upright, and your lower back can sit on this bike forever, especially with the handlebars that has been put on this bike by the owner. You know, on this twisty road, you can also, you get all the 600cc fun of the bike being very high revving. The bike feels manageable. It feels right at the amount of power that you need. And yeah, it's pretty precise as well, I gotta say, here in the turns. Earlier when riding through Düsseldorf, I really realized this is a really nice commuter bike that you can use for the twisty road, but you can also just commute through the city, drive between the cars. The combined braking system makes it pretty easy to go from stoplight to stoplight and pretty chill. But even though it's quite the nice commuter, you can also really wring the neck off the bike. It really gets properly quick fast. You really have this 600cc just revving higher and higher feel, which can be just so addicting and nice. Yeah. And all that with relatively precise handling. You can set up the handling pretty sport tourer-ish, or you can make it very tight and sharp. That's very nice and unique about the bike, and it definitely also has enough passing power. It's all in all just a pretty fun machine, I gotta say. And speaking of the sport touring capability of this bike is basically set up as a sport tourer, which makes it a great everyday bike while still being quite the sporty ride, I have to say. And I always feel like 600cc fun is a bit nicer on the street with up to 100 horsepower, because that's what you can like actually use. And with the bike's pretty incredible tech setup with the two different brake systems for front and rear, with the ABS and the fully adjustable suspension, for the price that this bike goes for on the used market, this bike goes for $5,000 to $6,000, and you get a very decent machine. Also, the range on this machine is pretty incredible, with very passionate riding that will absolutely make you lose your license. You definitely will have 250 kilometers always to ride, no matter what kind of wind conditions, no matter how much luggage, no matter how many person on the bike. And if you're just like cruising, you can reach up to 400 kilometers on the bike. Even a bit more. The internet said a bit more, but like realistically, I would say like 400. Also, the turn radius is pretty good on this bike, and of course, with you being very on top of the bike, you feel very comfortable doing these things. That's nice. The transmission also feels very nice from how you shift down through the gears. It's typical Honda stuff. And also then when like engaging the clutch again, you don't have any scary whatever feelings of the tire maybe locking up. I don't think it's an anti-hopping clutch, but it's a very forgiving system. Also then when just sitting on the bike, it's really nice to have the added wind protection from the fairings, because right now it's relatively cold and I'm still feeling fine. I don't get too much wind on my legs, on my chest. It doesn't just look very nice and very sporty, it also helps to keep you warm at the end of the day. Now when this woman here took a turn, let's see how quick this thing goes. This motorcycle, by the way, goes from 0 to 60 in 3.6 seconds, and is with that faster than the newer CBR 650F. So we now pulled over here on our little evening tour with Cher, who gave me this motorcycle behind the camera, and I have to say it's very impressive that this motorcycle has this fully adjustable suspension, because at this price point that's basically not a thing today. We don't have motorcycles at this price point that come with any adjustability most of the time. The only example that is kind of the exception to the rule is also from Honda, the Honda CBR 750 Hornet, but all the other ones basically have a very basic setup, and I think it's so cool that like over 10 years ago, for this price point, we got this. And also, if you want to buy this bike, it of course has Honda reliability. It is fuel injected, so no trouble with carburetors whatsoever. And you basically get for $5,000 to $6,000 on the used market a very competitive motorcycle package compared to today's mid-weight motorcycle machines. And what if I told you that for that price, you're even getting a bit of Italian flavor? Yes, you heard that right. The Honda CBR 600F is an Italian-designed motorcycle. I think even the visual design was made by an Italian guy, but definitely the motorcycle was produced in Edessa, which is close to the Adrian coast. They produced a motorcycle there, and they made the frame for this motorcycle in Spain. It's an aluminum frame, and I don't know if that is related, but like Spain was leading in aluminum frame technology basically,
And so they produced the frame in Spain, shipped the motorcycle then back to Italy, because the rest that was already produced in Italy needed to be welded to the frame at 3 different points. And to weld these 3 different points onto the frame, they had 48 hours, because after that they would have had to pay extra for the motorcycle staying for such a long time in Italy before being shipped, basically. So let's overtake this guy. And that is, I think, relatively interesting, because this is basically an Italian-made Japanese bike, and that most likely has to do with them mainly being sold in Europe. And that is because they're like based on the CBR 600RR, just tuned down, basically for being a bit more friendly, more insurance friendly, and also just nicer to ride on the street. As I have to say, on this day I had plenty of fun, and the bike still kept me very comfortable, which is very, very nice. And it's a nice concept for actually a street rideable bike, and that is also because the gearing is tuned down. The bike tops out at 230 kilometers an hour. For my American viewers, that's, I think, 140 miles an hour, 130 miles an hour. Of course, then the whole gearing is more actually street riding focused, so you actually end up with a very comfortable to ride machine also in day-to-day traffic and in the city, which I really appreciate.
Nothing quite starts the morning well than listening to a buzzsaw and screaming kids next door, but a cup of coffee definitely helps. So let's summarize my opinion on the Honda CBR 600F. And I have to say, I'm quite happy with the bike. It really does all things pretty great, and it's a very competitive package also for a bike from 2011. And with the bike being 5,000 to 6,000 bucks on the used market, it's definitely also an option to compare to modern bikes from today, as the bike is so flickable, so nice, so light, has such a nice package with its very nice suspension, with its combined braking system, aluminum frame. That's all stuff you don't get today for this price point. And this bike has all that. And it has Honda reliability, and also Honda took ride to repair pretty serious on the bike, as you can see with stuff like the oil filter. This is a fully faired machine, and the oil filter is super accessible, and you can just like twist it off and do an oil change right now as the bike is standing here, and stuff like that. And the owner of the bike is also doing all their work themselves, so that's definitely proving that this bike is accessible to work on yourself. And for a bike from 2011, that's, I think, quite cool and quite good, because that's not the norm. And this bike is kind of catered as a sports tourer and everyday bike. And everyday bike, it does really, really well riding through the city. It's very comfortable, also for someone my size. And the person who owns the bike is a woman who's 1.75 meters. And so basically everyone from 1.75 meters to 1.95 meters is good. I'm at the top end of what you can sit on the bike, but I'm on every bike, so yeah. One thing you, though, could critique is the lack of space for luggage. But the bike still has straps underneath the seat to put soft luggage on the bike, which I think is sufficient for a sport tourer, as people who buy sport tours most of the time go to hotels anyway, and this is also, the bike is in the price range for people who can afford a hotel when they go on a tour. So I think that's all good. And all in all, it still delivers all the 600cc fun. And it's so flickable from side to side. It's still quite fun to ride fast in the 140, 150 range. You then start to feel that the power band is brought down a bit. But all in all, it's a really nice bike, and I think it's also still most likely fun to take to the track every once in a while. So it's a very, very good package, and it's a nice little extra charm that the bike is produced in Europe and not in Japan. Makes you feel a bit special. Yeah, if you have a motorcycle that you would like me to review, especially if you live in Eastern Europe, as I'm about to make my way there, definitely feel free to write me an email. And yeah, see you guys in the next one. Like and subscribe.